What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with our college basketball top 25 rankings for week 5. Definitely a shakeup here as we have a lot of teams falling, but obviously we have a lot of new teams joining as well. And it was a pretty tough decision on which teams to join. But Ty, we're going to talk about the teams that fell from the rankings first. And obviously we got our Wolverines not looking too hot, but I know you're a big Memphis hater. We'll let you talk about Memphis here.
Yeah, I'm not always right about a lot of things with basketball. I will say I was right about Memphis. I feel like they're just overhyped every year. This week they went 0-2, losing on the road both games, but to two very below average SEC teams, especially Georgia, who was 2-5. So, it's just the same story for them this year. Michigan and Indiana, I think, are the two teams that will get back into the rankings. Indiana's, I think, 7-1. They look like a good team. Michigan looked like they found something Saturday, so they should work their way back up. And Florida State, not really sure.
And the others that received votes, you got, half of the only team that from that list is Michigan, just because they actually played well, in their second game, where these other teams either only had one game or just didn't play well this week. And I believe the only team that's ranked that we don't have ranked is BYU, compared to the AP poll. And I don't know why BYU is ranked. They haven't really done anything. But, these teams are definitely teams that are right there. And I guarantee you if it was top 30 instead of top 25, I'd say all 5 of these teams would be ranked. Just don't know which order. And coming in at 25th, we got North Carolina off the big win against Michigan. You could say big win, I guess. But I think it will be towards the end of the year. Michigan, they'll be better. They'll be better towards the end of the year, hopefully. And North Carolina, ACC play will start to, it's starting, I believe, this week. So they got another cupcake game before they jump into ACC play. And I expect them to go to 7-2. And I think they're going to really start to hit their stride once they hit ACC play as well.
Wisconsin comes in at 24, and they've really surprised me. I thought in our Big Ten rankings, I think I had them like 9th, obviously out of 14 teams. So I wasn't super high on them, but Brad Davison coming back has been huge for them. Tyler Wall has made big steps this year, and as you see last week, they beat 2 quality teams, quality road win, and then beating Marquette, their in-state rivals. So 7-1, off to a good start. Now they have Indiana and Ohio State this week. I would say 1-1 will be respectable in those 2 games, but they're going to be a good team, top half of the Big Ten going forward.
And 23rd, we got Florida Gators, who currently are getting blown out by 20 to Texas Southern, who is 0-7. So we moved them down even more to 23rd here. They were 20th. But it's just not looking good right now for them. I would be hitting the panic button if I'm in Florida right now. You do hopefully have an easier game in North Florida before you go against the Big Ten team in Maryland. But right now they got to figure some things out. And Colin Castleton, the Michigan transfer, he's pretty much been the only, I wouldn't even say key successful piece. I would just say, consistent. That's kind of what they need to look for right now is consistency in their players. And hopefully they can rebound after this terrible loss at home.
LSU, to me, is maybe the most underrated team in the country. Last year, they showed their talent competing with Michigan in the second round of the tournament before they kind of gave that game away late. But they're off to an 8-0 start this year. That Ohio win is better than it looks. Ohio is the best team in the MAC and, an NCAA tournament team from last year. So this team hasn't played great teams yet, but they've played some quality teams and beat them. A win at Georgia Tech this week would be another quality win. But I look for them to we'll see if they show up once they start playing these top half SEC teams like Kentucky, Tennessee, and Alabama.
And then 21st, we got Seton Hall, who had a pretty easy week last week, but now they got a tough task in number 7 Texas. But they do have them at home, and playing at home always is key, especially in college basketball. And you got Rutgers at home as well, who could be a slippery slope kind of game. That Rutgers team, yeah, they may be floating around 500 right now, but they're definitely a good team, especially for the Big Ten. An average team in the Big Ten could be a top three team in another conference. So could be a trip up game there, but I expect them to at least go 1-1 this week. Not sure which one, in all honesty. But you will have to tune into the picks though to see which game I have them winning. But yeah, I'll put the link in the description so you can click on that. But coming in at 21st here, I think the Seton Hall team in the Big East is gonna gain some respect as we come to March.
All right. I hate talking about this team. We got to talk about Ohio State coming in at 20. Definitely deserving after their big win over number 1 Duke at home. Just took over that game late. And I think this team has the talent to be a lot better than a number 20 team in the country. Right now, I think they're either the second or third best team in the Big Ten, right behind Purdue. So they have a lot of talent coming back this year. Now they're starting to kind of put it together. If they can beat Wisconsin this week, I think they'll go up almost to the top 15 in the AP rankings. So this team got off to a little slow start, but they're starting to find themselves now, and they have a chance to, I'm not going to say win the Big Ten because they have to deal with Purdue, but I think they'll finish in the top 3 for sure.
And at 19th, we've got Michigan State, who, their 2 losses this year have been to really good teams, and I can't blame them. Right now, it's the number 2 team in the country in Baylor and the top 5 team in Kansas. So, Michigan State unfortunately couldn't win the big games, but they've been really consistent in all their other games. And a game that, they may have to worry about is Minnesota, who's undefeated right now, on the road too, especially for the first Big Ten game. That's going to be a tough one. But the state team really doesn't need Amani Bates, in all honesty, right now. They figured out their guard play from last year, and it's just been actually a really fun team to watch through these 9 games. And this is, looking like a top 3 team in the Big Ten as we head into Big Ten play.
All right, we got Iowa State coming in at 18, and I've just been waiting for this team to come back down to earth. They had a terrible year last year. It seems like they've had a couple terrible years in a row, but obviously this year they've really figured themselves out. Maybe it's the new coach, but this team has it rolling. 8-0, ranked I think 17 in the AP poll. So they've really surprised a lot of people. Iowa this week, that's a big game. Iowa's really had their number in really every sport over the last few years. So that's a big game for them, especially playing that one at home. But if they can win that game, I mean, this team has to, get close to the top 10. If you're 10-0 with the wins they have, until they lose, you got to give them their respect. So Iowa State definitely on the rise.
And at 17th, we got Auburn, who really, hasn't had a tough task so far other than that battle for Atlantis game against UConn. And I think they're just going to keep it rolling here. This is a team that will fly under the radar all year. It seems like Auburn does it every year. They're a top 25 team come March, fly under the radar, Sweet 16, Elite 8 every year. And, I'm kind of seeing that it could be the same this year. The SEC is more loaded this year than it has been in recent years. So they could take a few steps back or even a few steps forward. We're just going to have to see as it plays out. But right now, I think that 17th ranking is pretty fair for them.
All right, we got USC at 16. And speaking of teams flying under the radar, I've not really heard anything about USC this year, to be honest. Obviously, a lot of that is due to them being in the Pac-12, playing all their games very late. So this team, 8-0, off to a good start. They haven't really beat anyone really worth noting yet. I mean, they started 2-0 in the Pac-12 last week. That's always good. Winning at Washington State is a decent win. That's a decent team, but still waiting for them to play teams like UCLA once they really get into Pac-12 play. But I mean, I think for sure they're the second best team, and well, I'll say third best team in that conference behind UCLA and Arizona. But Isaiah Mobley has proved that he's not quite Evan, but he's enough to lead your team to a top 15 caliber season. So USC should be here to stay.
And at 15th, we got the Yukon Huskies with 2 tough games this week at West Virginia and at home versus a very good St. Bonaventure team. And I think they will fall a little bit here in our rankings next week. I just feel like they can't win both of those games. I know this is a really good team, but those are 2 tough games back to back in 1 week. But to their credit, 8-1 start. This team really came out of nowhere. That battle for Atlantis really showed that this team can compete with top teams this year. And this Big East is going to be interesting this year. A lot better than it has been in recent years. Obviously it's been dominated by Villanova, but this year I think a lot of teams are going to give them a run for their money, and UConn is one of those teams.
All right, we got Arizona at 14. They're number 11 in the AP poll, but a lot of that is because of their win over Michigan. Seems like a common theme this year with the rankings. But this team looked great against Michigan, and they've really followed it up with kind of dominating since then. So I think this team has a chance to win the Pac-12 and beat out UCLA. They have the size and they have the shooting. They have everything that you need to be a top 10 team. So I think that's where they will be as the season goes on. At Illinois this week is going to be a tough game. I do think they can go in there and win it. If they lose, it's going to come right down to the wire, but I think they're definitely the better team right now in that game. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went in there and got the win, but Arizona looks like a team that could potentially be an Elite Eight Final Four team at the end of the season if they can keep this up.
And at 13th, we've got Tennessee, who, we are not really high on, but they just keep finding ways to win games. We both took Colorado last week, and they blew out Colorado by 15 on the road. So this Tennessee team is really good, I guess you could say, through seven games. But now they got Texas Tech at home, which could be a trap game because Texas Tech is still a pretty good team this year, even without Chris Beard. But not much else to be said about this Vol team. They're definitely going to compete for the SEC because I think that is the most open conference to win right now. And you just got to give this team credit for being 6-1 at this point. I know that they had the preseason ranking around 20th, and now they're slowly moving up. So if they can keep winning games, I expect this team to be a top 10 team at one point in this year.
All right, we got Houston coming in here at number 12. This team, I think, is not going to fall below 15 all season when you think about it. I think Houston is just going to be one of the more consistent teams in the country this year. They have one bad half of basketball all year against Wisconsin. Other than that, this team has looked like a top 10 team to me. I think they have, right now, I think they're the best defense in college basketball, and they have enough scoring to go along with that. To stay in the top 10. Looks like 2 pretty easy wins last week, 1 easy win this week, and then you go to Alabama. That's going to be a really fun game to watch. You got, I think, the best defense in college basketball against one of the 2 best offenses in college basketball in Alabama. So that should be a fun game.
And coming in at 11th, we got UConn. We got Connecticut. I'm really screwing this up right now. We got Kentucky, and this Kentucky team, since that first game, it's been pretty much cupcake, and it's still going to be like that. At Notre Dame, you could say it could be a good game, but Notre Dame is nothing like they were 5-6 years ago. And once again, Kentucky's getting easy schedule until they head into the SEC. So there's not really much to report about this Kentucky team other than, they're in the SEC, which is wide open this year.
All right, we got Texas at 10. And, this team is still kind of reeling from that blowout loss to Gonzaga. They haven't really played anyone like that since that game. So it's hard to talk too much about them being any higher than 10. But if they can win at Seton Hall this week, they can really prove themselves and show why they are in the top 10 right now. I think as the season goes on, this team is going to turn into a really, really good team. Obviously, they had 6 transfers come in, I think, that play meaningful minutes. So you can expect some growing pains at the beginning of the season when you have that much turnover with your team. But they have a lot of talent. So if they can start to put it together, I think this team could definitely win the Big 12 going forward.
And coming in at 9th, we got Alabama off their big win against Gonzaga. And, they really dominated that game, and especially in the second half, limiting all of Gonzaga, really the whole team, to barely score. And, they went on runs, and it felt like when Gonzaga hit a big bucket, they stopped them for 2-3 more possessions, and Alabama could get an even bigger lead. And then at the end, it just really kind of showed that Alabama was meant for crunch time. And you've seen Gonzaga the last 2 games where it's came down to the wire against a good team at the end, and they've just kind of faltered. And you can't coach that. You can't coach at the end of the game clutchness. You can't talk about or even help you teach that stuff. But this Alabama team, it looks like they got that in them, in their DNA. And a tough game this week against Houston, as you were talking about, one of the best scoring offenses, but this defense is pretty good this year, and they're pretty good might be an understatement. At 9, coming in at ranking 9, I think this team is going to jump up a little bit if they win. And if they lose, I think they won't fall that much, but this Alabama ranking at 9 is pretty fair for them.
All right, Villanova coming in here at 8, mainly just because they're 6-2. If they didn't schedule 2 top 5 teams to start the season, they would definitely be probably in the top 3. This team, to me, looked like the better team against UCLA, and again, they lost. But the problem with them is I don't know if they have the depth to be, a Final Four national championship team. The reason they lost to, I think it was Purdue and UCLA. So 2 great teams. But the reason they're losing these games is because they're getting tired at the end of the games, blowing their big leads. And that could be a real problem going forward, especially when you get deeper into the season. Guys' legs are getting tired. I just think they need to find a 7th, 8th, maybe 9th guy you can go to off the bench to get at least 10 minutes. Otherwise, the blowing leads could turn into a trend for them. So I worry about them going forward, especially playing at Baylor.
And coming in at 7th, we got Arkansas. Right now the best SEC team they got, and 2 easy wins last week, and I think 2 more easy wins this week to move them to 10-0 on the year. And in the AP poll, they're not even in the top 10, but we're giving them some love here. And they've, just proven it. They've been ranked top 15 since the start of the year. And apparently the AP poll isn't, rewarding them for winning every single game they've played, but we are. And, with some tough matchups this week, I think this team could move up even into the top 5 if a few teams lose. But definitely trying to repeat a performance like they had last year in that run in March. And it looks like so far this team could do it.
All right, we got Kansas at 6, who, is definitely a top 3 team outside of their head-scratching loss to Dayton a couple weeks ago. But this team has shown that they have pretty much more talent than almost any team in the country, maybe aside from Gonzaga and Purdue. But I think this is definitely the front runner to win the Big 12. And this week looks like 2 pretty easy wins. So should be 8-1 going into next week and find themselves back in the top 5.
And at 5, we got UCLA, not really moving, and they have a COVID win against Washington because Washington got hit with a COVID bug and they couldn't find a day to reschedule it. So how the Pac-12 does it is the team automatically gets the win, which is kind of, crappy that you couldn't find any day to reschedule it, but that's just how it is. And then this week they got a game at Marquette, which could be a trip-up game for the Bruins team, who really hasn't, solidified themselves, I guess, after that Gonzaga game. There hasn't been a huge win, and they've been shaky since. But if they can win that game, I think they'll be getting right back on track to, this top 5 projection for almost everybody in the nation this year. And I think they will do that. So 9-1 going into next week.
All right. Very shocking that we have Gonzaga falling to 4, but I think it's definitely deserved. 2 losses before we even hit, well, I guess barely into December is really shocking for Gonzaga. I thought they'd be lucky to lose 1 game this year, let alone 2 before we even hit January, but they really got dominated by Alabama. Really a wake-up call for Gonzaga. The loss to Duke, they lost the game by 3 points. It was a competitive game, but this one, it was a blowout at halftime. So I think it's really going to light a fire for Gonzaga. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that's their last loss this whole season, looking at their schedule going forward. But definitely raises a few question marks for this team, despite all their talent. But I think they'll be just fine going forward, and I think they'll go into the tournament at 32-2.
At number 3, we got Duke, who lost on the road at Ohio State last Monday. And, they're going to have to think about it for a while because they don't play this week at all. And a long layover could be trouble for this Duke team, especially, after a loss. Oops, I didn't write the loss in there. But they're 7-1. I don't really see any concern, though, as, they were the first to dethrone Gonzaga. And right now it's just looking like whoever's at 1, someone's coming for you. And it seems almost every week so far, there's been a new number 1. And I don't know, it's just really interesting so far how it's played out for not just this Duke team, but all of college basketball as well. And I can't really tell you who the best team in basketball still is. Oops, I went the wrong way. That's awkward.
All right, we got Baylor at number 2. It was just, probably the quietest defending champion I've ever seen. They just rolled right through the battle for Atlantis. Seems like no one's really talking about them just yet, but here they are, 8-0, ranked number 2, right back where they were last year. And now you got Villanova at home, a big game to kind of put Baylor, I guess, put them back on the map, even though they're the defending champs. But I think they win that game. I think their defense is going to shut down Villanova. And Baylor has much more depth than Villanova, like I said before. So I think Baylor's going to win that game and get to 9-0. And this team is just about every bit of the monster that they were last year. I think they have a scary defense. They can still shoot the 3. So look out for them again this year to potentially be a Final Four team again.
And at number 1, for the second week in a row, we got the Purdue Boilermakers with 2 huge wins over Florida State and Iowa, to really solidify themselves as the best team in basketball right now. There's no case, the AP poll put them at 1. They're 8-0, and they've dominated almost every game they've played. So, especially, for the first game in Big Ten play to come out like that against an undefeated Iowa team, you're undefeated, big game, and just pretty much just not even let them have a chance. It felt like. And now you go into Rutgers, home against NC State. I don't really see another loss here. And they're going to go to 10-0, but shout out Grayson Plew and his Boilermakers. He said he might be joining us for a video, just to talk about only his Purdue team. So we might have to get him on here soon, but that's going to be it for our rankings video today. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. Like and comment. Let us know what you're thinking about in this video, how our rankings were. And until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.
She never called back.